Greetings, everyone. My name is Scott Mehus, and I'm the Education Director here at the National Eagle Center in Wabasha, Minnesota. And I want to thank you so much for your interest in our annual Golden Eagle Survey and your interest in wanting to become a citizen scientist and help us with this very important project. I want to have a big shout out here to the Zoological Association of America. They have given a beautiful donation of money to help me spend time creating some of these videos and training sessions for you. So thank you to the Zoological Association of America. Make sure you get out and visit some of their beautiful places they have across the country and all the wonderful work and research that they do, and they're allowing us to do this research as well. So thank you. I also want to throw out a huge shout out to my photographers. I've got several people that have donated hundreds of images, and I have hundreds of people that have donated an image or two. And so I really appreciate that. I've spent a lot of time going through all of those, and I found some of the better ones to put up here, but let me tell you, there's still a lot of ones that are still just as good on the cutting room floor that could be used in other future presentations. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. I've tried to write down everybody's name, and so every photo has been labeled by the photographers if you're interested in that. But thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been interested in nature since, well, a long time. I've been around looking at things and enjoying watching butterflies and wildlife and observing all of those things. But I'm here today to talk to you about my passion for golden eagles. I've had the honor of working with our golden eagle, Donald, here at the National Eagle Center in Wabasha. But my passion for golden eagles began well before that when I was a student up at Vermilion College up in Ely, Minnesota. And my professor, Bill Teft right here, took us down to Hawk Ridge Bird Observatory in Duluth, Minnesota to watch the annual fall migration of the raptors heading south. And I was fascinated by all the different raptors that were going overhead, but in particular, I was most fascinated by watching those golden eagles that were coming through in late October into November. Enjoyed spending many hours up there hanging out with Frank Nicoletti, the head counter up there at the time, learning more about raptor identification. Well, after graduating from Vermilion College, I then obtained a degree and I then obtained a job working for the Minnesota DNR in southeast Minnesota. Had an enjoyable time working for non-game wildlife. Well, as fall approached, I started thinking a little bit more about those golden eagles up there in Duluth and that Hawk Ridge trip. And it was like a 5-hour drive, and I didn't have that much time on the weekends. And so I thought, I'd heard there were a couple of places here in southeast Minnesota where bird watchers had been regularly going to look for golden eagles here. And in particular, down in the Whitewater State Park area, Whitewater Management area, or down into Houston County near Money Creek. I thought, I'm going to go and see if there's any golden eagles there like others have been observing for many years. I went there, and sure enough, I started finding golden eagles. Beautiful, beautiful golden eagles. Well, as I started looking around, I started thinking to myself, I'm up and down the river valley here. I would like to look for more locations up and down the river valley in the driftless area. Because this area that I was exploring was an area that includes the driftless area here through southeast Minnesota. And when I looked at the bluff where I was seeing the golden eagles near Whitewater State Park, I'm like, well, why aren't there golden eagles in other locations up and down the river valley that we call the driftless area? So I started looking and I started finding more and more golden eagles. Well, then I started to question myself a little bit. Well, because I know those juvenile bald eagles do look a lot like golden eagles. So I thought, well, maybe I'm misidentifying them. So I thought, you know what? I better go back to that old Peterson Bird Guide, take a look at that, and make sure I'm making the correct identification. I opened up the pages, and sure enough, I did learn that those juvenile bald eagles that are in their first year of life do look a lot like golden eagles. But I thought I was doing pretty good with identification. I learned some of the things from the guides, and I thought, yeah, no, I think I'm making the correct identifications. Well, then I turned to the back of the book where the map was, and look at that map. Here's Minnesota, Wisconsin, and there is no known areas for golden eagles to be seen in this area. So then I thought, oh, Jiminy Crickets, I know that I'm seeing golden eagles. But then I thought, well, maybe I'm just seeing multiple golden eagles in multiple locations. It's the same golden eagle in multiple locations, excuse me. So I thought, well, maybe they're just too fast for me. Because if I'm in one valley and I see a golden eagle, and it takes me 20 minutes to drive to another valley over here, by the time that I get to this other valley, the golden eagles just went over the tops of the bluffs, and I'm double counting the birds. So what I decided to do is I wanted to get a couple of my friends out there, and I started the Golden Eagle Survey. My goal was to get some of my people that I knew, train them well, get them into these locations, because I knew there were golden eagles here, I knew there were golden eagles here, and up here, and over there. But I couldn't be in all those locations at all the same times. So I decided to get those friends trained and out there, and we started the survey. Now, the first couple of years of the survey, we averaged about 60 different golden eagles on the survey. As you can see, the numbers going up there through 2016. Then we go here. Look at what happened here in 2017, 2018, right over here. Those numbers really dropped. Then it went back up again. Well, what happened here in 2017 and 18? It wasn't that the population was affected. It was just that we observers were affected by some pretty extreme dense fog, made it hard for you to see anything, let alone those very difficult to find golden eagles up in the bluff country. Now, let's take a look at those numbers after those foggy years. Those numbers went back up again, as you can see, up in the upper 140s or so, and we've been averaging well over about 100 golden eagles sighted on the survey area. Now, that survey area covers parts of southeast Minnesota, western Wisconsin, northeast Iowa, and northwest Illinois. But what we're hoping, and that's why you are watching this, is we're hoping to expand this across the Midwest as we work our way towards the east, even over towards the Atlantic Ocean, because we now know there are golden eagles they're only wintering in those areas. But we would like to survey those areas as well, and so that's why you're taking part of this. So that's the numbers of the golden eagles that we've been seeing, and you can always learn more about these numbers and the data on our website, nationaleaglecenter.org, to learn more about that. And I'll give that email here at the end as well. As we're out there looking, we're also looking at bald eagles, and so we're seeing bald eagles out there as well. In fact, we typically average over 1,000 bald eagles seen on the survey each year. In fact, here is the data for that data over the years from 2017 all the way through 2022. Look at that, folks. You're reading that number correctly. That's 1,643 bald eagles sighted on one single Saturday in January in the driftless area. Now, we're going to learn a little bit later that the golden eagles are not associating near the water. So the open water areas that Wabasha is famous for the numbers of overwintering bald eagles, we didn't count any of those birds because we're looking for the golden eagles and they're in the forested valleys out of the bluff country. So pretty amazing numbers, folks. Remember, there was a time in this country when we didn't even have that many bald eagles left in the entire lower 48 states. So what an amazing comeback that we were allowed to have. It's because we as a culture got behind it and said we need to help save this critter that is so much in need of attention. But I always like to remind people there's so many other critters out there that's in species that still need our attention and respect. They're not quite as glamorous as the eagle, but they still deserve our attention and respect. We need to help them out as well, just as we did for that bald eagle. Typically on the survey, we average about 12 different types of raptors. Most years, we generally average well over 600 bald eagles, or excuse me, 600 red-tailed hawks as well. Folks, this is live. I may mess up occasionally. Take it as humor. Laugh at it. Make fun of me, whatever. I'm going to make a few mistakes. We're just going to roll with it. It's live, so let's keep rolling here. Now, the golden eagles that we're talking about, primarily when we think about golden eagles, most people think about them in the United States of America. They think about in the western United States, about the prairies, about the Missouri River there down in the Dakotas, across the prairies, and then over into the foothills, and also in the bigger foothills and all the way towards the mountains, and then all the way up into Alaska, and then all the way down into the desert southwest, and then all the way down to the northern half of Mexico. In fact, the golden eagle is featured on the Mexican coat of arms. But here in Minnesota and Wisconsin, the golden eagles are only here during the winter time. They arrive in mid to late October, and then they're generally here until late February, early March. Occasionally, we can see some birds into April and maybe even the early parts of May. But any other time of the year that you think you might be seeing golden eagles, you are more than likely looking at those juvenile bald eagles. And by you attending this program today, you're going to learn how to identify those juvenile bald eagles from the golden eagles. The golden eagles, when they're here, they're not near the water. They're not near the Mississippi River, not near the backwaters. In the 25 years that I've been watching and studying golden eagles here, only on one occasion have we seen a golden eagle within 30 feet of the water. They're out in these forested valleys, out in the bluff country. feeding on mammals and birds, not on fish. Now, when they're here, we like to look at a very specific location for these golden eagles. As you can see, the money line right there. The money line is right where you want to keep your eyes on, folks. That is where like the golden eagles like to hang out. They're not hanging out down in the tree out here in the open country here in the farm. They're also generally not in the lower parts of the bluff here, but primarily they're in this line right here. Now, occasionally they might be above that line, but most of the time they're in this line right here. So that's where I want you to focus, looking for the golden eagles when they're in the driftless area, the bluff country. Not in those trees out in the open. The golden eagles are not perching in those areas. Bald eagle might perch there, a red-tailed hawk, or even a rough-legged hawk, as you see here, perched at the very top up there. Now, one of the habitats the golden eagles like to feature on, hang around here, I think they access prey there fairly easily, is what we call a goat prairie. Goat prairies are these areas on the south and west-facing sides of the bluff that get a lot of exposure with the sun, and so they're great areas for the golden eagles to sneak up on squirrels or rabbits or turkeys that are feeding out in those areas. And so I definitely encourage you to be watching those goat prairie areas on the south and west facing sides of the bluff. Well, all of those golden eagles that we were seeing on the survey and that I was observing over the years really got the attention of some folks, in particular here, Mark Martell here, who at the time was working for Audubon, Minnesota. And he was communicating with Carol Henderson and some other folks with Minnesota DNR, and they were kind of wondering about the numbers of golden eagles that I was seeing. And they came down and we got together. I went out and showed them some golden eagles, and they said, wow, this is really a population that we had no idea that was here in Minnesota, Wisconsin. We need to get together, form a partnership to study this population a little bit more. And so we did exactly that. We had the Minnesota DNR, Audubon, Minnesota, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Wisconsin DNR, and the Minnesota DNR non-game wildlife as well. And what our goal was is to capture some golden eagles and put some satellite transmitters on here, as you can see here, so that we can track this population to find out where are they going in the summertime. We know they are arriving here in the fall, staying through the winter, but where are they going for the rest of their summer? Are they heading out west, as a lot of people thought, towards those mountainous areas? Well, we're going to find out where, because of that satellite transmitter information here in a little bit. But that little device there sends a signal up to a satellite there up in space, back to us here, and we can track that bird wherever it's going. And so it's pretty cool data that we've learned over the years. Well, the first thought was, well, how do we lure these birds in? And so the people that had done this kind of work before said, you know what, why don't you put out some deer carcasses? More than likely you'll get some eagles coming in. Well, we definitely got some deer carcasses out there. We cut them up, made them look as appetizing as we could, put them out into the habitat, and then we put some trail cameras on there to see what's coming in. And we had lots and lots of bald eagles and raccoons and skunks and a variety of animals coming in to feed, lots of different types of birds, bald eagles, and then here we got some crows that are coming in. We got a nice small group of crows. You know what did you call a group of crows? A murder. Very good. Now, this is a true murder here because it's about 4 or 5 crows. If there had only been 2 crows, then it would have been an attempted murder. I'm not sure I can hear the laughter at this point. Maybe it's groans I'm hearing. I'm not sure. Anyway, there you go. There's a true murder happening right there of crows. We had red-tailed hawks coming in. We had rough-legged hawks coming in. But rarely did we have golden eagles coming in and feeding on our carcasses. And we said, okay, so what else is on the menu for the golden eagles when they're in this area? Well, one of the main prey items that I see them feeding on is fox squirrels. And so we said, okay, fox squirrels is number 1. Probably number 2 they feed on is gray squirrels. Okay, so you're probably familiar with them from your backyards there. And then the other thing that I see them feeding on occasionally is eastern cottontails. So we got permission from the DNR and federal government, Fish and Wildlife Service, that we could utilize those animals to safely lure in golden eagles into our trap site. And we put those animals out there and we caught birds. Yep, we caught birds. We caught 27 red-tailed hawks in one season. Can you imagine? This is a red-tailed hawk, not a golden eagle. Red-tailed hawks also eat squirrels, rabbits, and so we said, okay, every time that we were sitting there in our trap, blind, watching the trap, and we had to go release that red-tailed hawk, we were basically telling the golden eagles in this area, hey, this is the trap area. Why don't you please avoid this area? So we'd have to kind of reset and go to another location. Said, okay, well, what is not on the red-tailed hawk's menu that is on the golden eagle's plate? And so one of the other things that I see them feeding on fairly regularly is another bird. In fact, it's a fairly big bird. In fact, it's a bird you probably think about, oh, at least once a year, at least I do, on a Thursday in late November. It's the old turkey, wild turkey. So I see golden eagles regularly feeding on wild turkeys. And so we asked the DNR whether we could utilize some wild turkeys, and they said, well, no, there's some technicalities there. You cannot use wild turkeys for that trapping. But there are some domestic turkeys called the black Spanish turkeys that look a lot like wild turkeys, and you could utilize those. And so we had a nice young lady from a local school here, did an FFA project, raised these black Spanish turkeys over the summer for us. They were ready for us in the fall for us to use. Now, I should also point out that over the years, you think a wild turkey is pretty amazing for a golden eagle to go after? Over the years, I've also seen and observed. I don't think anybody ever really believed me. Well, maybe one guy, Larry Bennett, my friend from Eau Claire, who's now unfortunately passed away, but I think he believed me. But most everybody else did not believe me that I was witnessing golden eagles going after white-tailed deer until some trail cameras, thankfully, also captured those images. And so pretty cool to think about. Now, I've never seen them be successful at killing white-tailed deer. It's also always these younger birds that are going after the deer. I think it's kind of like our teenagers, our human teenager. They think they can handle that all. I can take care of that thing. Well, in reality, maybe they can't. So then they realize you need to back down a little bit, slow down a little bit, and go after something you can handle. And for the golden eagles, it's those wild turkeys. And so our first golden eagle, though, that we were able to release with the transmitter wasn't a bird that we lured in, although we were able to do that. The first bird that came in was a bird that came in that had unfortunately been caught in a leg-hold trap over in Wisconsin. Now, when it was brought into the National Eagle Center here first, before we transferred it to the Raptor Center at the University of Minnesota, this bird was identified as a juvenile bald eagle. So remember, everybody makes mistakes on identifications at times, even people in the wildlife field. And so we're hoping by the end of the training today that you will have the skills that you need to make those correct identifications. Well, this particular bird had unfortunately put his leg down into a hole, and unfortunately there was a trap there for a mammal, for a fur bearer, and that golden eagle unfortunately had two gaping wounds there on that leg there. The Raptor Center did the amazing work they do up there. They were able to stop the bone from dying back. They were able to do some feather graft, and we're able to release that bird, our first bird with a satellite transmitter, a bird that we call Whitey. Another bird that came in injured was over by Fairchild, Wisconsin. This bird was flying over the highway, Highway 10 there, got caught in the draft of a vehicle and slammed into the pavement. These two young men right here on either side of the golden eagle and marked there, these young men were on their way turkey hunting, and they witnessed this, and they said, oh, we need to pull over and get this eagle some help. So they kind of slowly pushed it off the side of the road with a blanket, got it down to the woods. They called the DNR. Took the DNR several hours to get there, but these two gentlemen waited the entire time until the DNR got there. They skipped turkey hunting to help this golden eagle, and we really appreciate these people that really care for these birds like this. Thankfully, this bird was taken to the Raptor Center and was able to be released. All it had was a bruised crop. So this bird was able to be released with a transmitter. So we released a couple of more, including a bird that was captured up at Hawk Ridge in Duluth, Minnesota, at Hawk Ridge Bird Observatory. So a total of 5 were released with satellite transmitters. Put those transmitters on and then send those birds off there. Then the big question was, okay, where are these birds going? Are they heading out west like everybody thought they were doing? Well, we're learning, they may be going a little west, but not much. They are primarily going from Minnesota and Wisconsin down here all the way into these northern parts of Canada. We're talking Nunavut. We're talking Nunavut. None of it. I'm having none of it, no matter how much I say about it wrong. But anyway, Nunavut, the Northwest Territories, all of these areas across northern parts of Canada. The Arctic Circle is way at the top, way up there, right there, folks. That is where these golden eagles were going and spending their summers and raising their families. In fact, we have an image here that shows you all the different locations that we had golden eagles going to. These ones that I just showed you up here, but we also had bird right over here above the Great Slave Lake here in the Northwest Territories, and then also birds over here in Quebec, all the way over here in, along the Labrador Sea in Newfoundland as well. All of those birds spent those summers up there and then funneled down here into Minnesota, Wisconsin to spend the winter. So pretty cool information. Here's an individual bird story that we had. This is a bird named Jeanette that was captured over near Waupaca, Wisconsin. This was a bird that was coming into a deer carcass, and so we attracted a local gentleman that we know there, Gene Jacobs from the Stevens Point area, and worked with him to get that bird captured. We captured that bird, put a transmitter on that bird. That bird then left the Waupaca area, flew right up here past Hawk Ridge right up here, and then all the way up here, folks, all the way up here, over 2,326 miles to that location right there, 2,326 miles from Waupaca to this location here is where that bird nested. We tracked to that location for 4 years in a row. For 3 of those years, she arrived back at that nesting site right there in Nunavut, right there, for 3 years in a row on exactly April 3rd. Can you imagine going that distance, getting back to the same location 3 years in a row on the exact same date? Try turning your GPS off and see if you get back home on time. That's pretty amazing dedication. Now, the last year we tracked her there, she got there on April 6th. So it was a couple of days behind schedule. But that's pretty amazing reliability. I mean, those airlines, they could learn something from that. That's amazing reliability. Well, at first, we really thought these golden eagles were, at least I did, thought they were kind of restricted to the driftless area. Well, along comes Jack. Jack's a bird that was going by Hawk Ridge there in Duluth, Minnesota. Was captured there. We had an extra transmitter. We sent it up there to Frank. They were able to put that transmitter on, and that bird was then released. That bird then flew down here, folks, down through Minnesota, down here to Dubuque, Iowa. Now, folks, I got to make sure you guys know, I was thinking about going into meteorology, but I didn't do it because I knew I'd never be able to get the hang of these dang green screens. So work with me, folks. Dubuque is right there. It is. Got it, folks. There we go. There's Dubuque right there. That bird spent about a week near Dubuque. We're thinking, okay, yeah, that's the driftless area. That makes sense. That's where that bird's going to spend the winter. Well, he was just there for a week fueling up, because then he continued his journey down here into southern Missouri and northern Arkansas. And we tracked that bird to that area for 4 years in a row. So it was more than just the driftless area. In fact, I am honored to be part of a group of folks, researchers, scientists from across the Eastern United States that are studying this population of golden eagles that pretty much most everybody was overlooking in this area. In fact, this is just a sampling of all the different lines, tracking lines of birds with satellite transmitters heading into these northern parts of Canada, Newfoundland, along the Labrador Sea, and then that's the birds that we talked about over here that were coming from Minnesota, Wisconsin. So pretty cool information that we're learning, because now we're rewriting those books. Remember the Peterson guide that we looked at before, that map showed nothing there? Well, now the maps are showing there's a population here in the eastern United States that we really didn't even know was there. In fact, I really truly think that the population has been there all the time. Some people think the population may be increasing in the area. I think they were there all the time. But just as in this picture here, we were busy. I was busy looking somewhere else. People were busy looking somewhere else. And then right behind them, right in plain sight, was that great bull heron, or in our case, the golden eagle. That was right there in front of them, but they were looking for something else. They were so focused on finding something else. In fact, most of the time when records were turned in of golden eagles away from near Whitewater State Park or near Houston County, they were just discounted as being wrong. Well, you know what, folks? They may have been right. In fact, there was a gentleman down from the Lanesboro area back in the late 1800s named Bosleff that had regular accounts of observing golden eagles during the winter time at the right time of the year. And so this was in the late 1800s that these reports were. So I think these birds were here all along. We're just learning more about them. And it's thanks to you who are here because you wanted help learning how to identify these birds. And now you're going to be able to have a chance to help with the survey. Well, let's start talking about identifying these birds. I think at first everybody's like, oh, it's a little difficult. It's kind of like identifying those little brown jobbies, those little brown birds. It's kind of difficult, the little sparrows. I think there's some things that I can show you, some steps that I think that I can put together here for you today that I think will make you feel more confident about making identification of those golden eagles. And once you do, I think you'll be able to just get those steps and just hang on, and I think you'll be able to make identification. But I want to make sure that you remember that everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. In fact, there's a mistake in the sign. We'll look at that again later. But let's first talk about the identification of the eagles. Now we know the bald eagle has that nice, beautiful white head and tail. They have typically obtained that when they're about 5 to 6 years of age. But what we've also been led to believe is that golden eagles are so much larger than bald eagles, when in fact, folks, they're about the same size. Now, if we go to an ornithology textbook and we look, yes, female golden eagles are 10% larger than female bald eagles based on the same geographic range. But that 10% is not enough for you to say, wow, that's a much bigger bird. But what does make you say, wow, that's a much bigger bird, is the difference between the sexes in the eagles. Remember, in the eagles species, the females are larger than the males. And then in the bald eagle, as we have here, so we've got a bald eagle here. This is an adult. We recognize that. Then next to it here, we've got this big old bird. That's got to be a different kind of eagle because it's so much bigger. When in fact, what it is, it's a juvenile female. Okay, so this is probably the male, and this is the female. That's why, because females are larger. But more importantly, those younger birds in those first couple of years of life, they actually have a little bit longer training feathers, flight feathers throughout the wing and the tail. And so here's an example of that. You can see right here, these longer feathers here, right there where the arrows are, to help you better than me get into it quickly. See right there, those are some retained longer first year of life feathers. These feathers that are next to it here are shorter. Those are the new feathers. Those are more the size the adult feathers are going to be. But those longer feathers, that first and second year of life, they kind of act like training feathers, helping them get there more effectively with more surface area. It also allows for some of those feathers to get broken off a little bit and still have enough out there to be able to soar effectively. So what are we going to look at here? Here's another juvenile bald eagle here, and here's another image here, folks, with those longer training feathers left on that particular bird. Okay. Now, here's an image that's really kind of confusing when you first look at it. Look at this. This is a very small male bald eagle. He's not quite an adult yet, but look at right there. That's a big old female right there. So here we've got kind of the opposite here. We've got this larger bird, in this case, is the one with the white-headed tail, and the smaller one is the juvenile subadult here with the almost white-headed tail. But that's the difference between the males and the females. Well, let's start putting a name to these golden eagles. Here in North America, we have two types of eagles. We have the bald eagle and the golden eagle. The bald eagle only found in North America, but the golden eagle is found across the northern hemisphere as well. So parts of northern Africa, Europe, and Asia, you can also find the golden eagle. Now, when you come to the National Eagle Center in Wabasha, Minnesota, I hope to see some of you folks when you stop in. Make sure you say hi. I want you to come and see some of our major renovations that we've recently worked on. We've got some really cool stuff that we've done up there, and we've got some more things coming. So keep checking us out. One of the things that we have is an Eagles of the World exhibit, where you get a chance to learn about the over 60 different types of eagles that we have in the world, and you get to learn about them. But here, remember, in North America, we have just two, the bald eagle and the golden eagle. Now, in the world, as I said, there's about 6 different species of eagles. They fall into about 4 family groups. So we have, first, we have the sea or fish eagle family, and the bald eagle belongs to that. Okay, this looks very much like a bald eagle in some respects, only it's much larger. It is the stellar sea eagle. Then we have the true or booted eagle family. The boots mean that the feathers go, I can't see my legs, I can't lift that high up, but you can imagine that I got the boots on here today. And so there's feathers that go all the way down. That's what we call it, the booted eagle family. We also have the serpent eagle family. This is the batalure. And also in the serpent eagle family, I had to include another one because it's one of my favorites, is the long-crested eagle there as well. Then we also have another family of eagles called the forest eagle families. These are sometimes some of our most endangered and threatened eagles, including the harpy eagle here, and also the very, very much endangered the Philippine eagle right here. But the bald eagle, we're all familiar with that nice white head and tail, as we talked about, that nice bright yellow beak there and yellow eyes. But those juveniles, as I mentioned earlier, there we go, sorry about that. The juveniles that I mentioned earlier can look a lot different there in that first couple of years of their life. So here's an example of side by side. So that juvenile golden eagle, juvenile bald eagle here versus the adult golden eagle here. Overall, very different, all kinds of a dark brown. At first glance, they may look identical, but there's some things that we can look at here underneath the wings there to make us identification of that. So here is the, we'll move forward here a little bit here. So here is let me go back one here. So here is that bald eagle, kind of in that first year of its life, kind of all dark brown, dark brown beak there, dark brown eye. There's mottling definitely underneath the wing, but overall a dark brown, especially if you look at the top side, we'd see all that dark brown. Then as they get into that second and third year of life, here you can see some retained primaries there, or secondaries there, and then we get 2 to 3 years of age. Then as we get to in that fourth year of life, you can see more and more white feathers there coming in the head there. We're starting to get some white feathers there in the tail there as well. Here we've got 5, 6 years of age. They almost have that complete white head and tail, and there's that full adult with that nice complete white head and tail. But that first year of life, that beak is very dark and very big. Very dark and very big, dark eye as well. As we look at a golden eagle, you'll notice that the beak is a little bit different here. Now, I know size is hard to tell without them side by side, but what I want you to look at more important right now is the color of that beak. Okay, so here at the tip here, it's kind of a dark black. Then there's kind of a mid-gray, bluish-gray section, and then a yellow section. So once again, it's the golden eagle is dark at the tip, then bluish-gray, and then yellow. Compare that with those juvenile bald eagles. Yeah, there's some yellow here, but there's an awful lot of black here, a lot of black, and that big beak is very big as well. Once again, here we've got a golden eagle. There's that over here is the dark tip, then the bluish-gray, and then the yellow. But once again, it's a very, very large beak. Now, my question for you, while I take a little sip of water here, anybody know who this is? If you do, you can type it into the comments. Anytime I ask for questions, you're always welcome to type it in the comments there and play along with us here today. But who is this? I'm guessing if you're of a certain age, you know that this is Jimmy Durante. Now, Jimmy Durante was an actor. He was a comedian. He was a pianist. Just a wonderful guy. He was not known for that, though, unfortunately. He was known for his big old schnoz. Yep, the schnozola is what they called him. Yep. So this is Jimmy Durante with that big old schnoz. Well, you know what, folks? The bald eagles and the Jimmy Durantes in the world. Look at that side by side. That is definitely a schnoz right there and there. Both of those guys have schnozzes. So that's how you're going to remember. Next time you see that bald eagle, that big old beak, you're going to think of Jimmy Durante right there. And that big, I don't want to pick, a big old nose right there. Now, golden eagles here, very different. Much smaller beak overall. Once again, while we have this image up here, look at that dark tip, then bluish gray, and then yellow. But a very small beak overall. So not like Jimmy Durante, more like a Michael Jackson schnoz there, very small in comparison. Now, golden eagles are known, their name comes from the golden nape that they have. So the feathers that you see on the back of the head, generally the very top of the head up here is brown. But once they start going down that slope on the back side there, it's what we call the nape. And that's where those golden brown feathers are on the nape. And that's where they get the name golden eagle. Now, those golden brown feathers can vary quite a bit here, as you can see in these images, including this bird right here, which was Whitey, that had the first golden eagle we released the transmitter, had more of a whitish gold cast to the color of gold. Now, juvenile bald eagles may have goldish brown feathers throughout their body sometimes. They may be here on the back, they may be on the wing area here, sometimes they may be all over the entire back, as we see on this individual right here. And on this particular individual right here, you can see it's located right here, just on the very tippy top of the head. On the top of the head, but not on the nape, as it should be on the golden eagle. Here we have another example, more golden brown on the back, but it's not on the nape, as we've been talking about so far. That nape, though, that golden eagle can vary, as you can see, a variety. I'll step on the way so you can see all the images. Various amounts of variation in the gold coloration, but it's always going to be present there. In fact, sometimes when you see these golden eagles soaring in the distance, and it's a nice bright sunlit day, and that light hits that gold area, it can kind of create a whitish cast. It'll almost make it look like you might be looking at a bald eagle. So be aware of that. Sometimes when that light is shining down on that gold, it kind of gives it almost a whitish cast to the head. Well, bald eagles, I mentioned earlier, belong to a family of eagles called the fish or sea eagle family, and they have very large beaks. Those large beaks are used as tools to rip and tear fish apart, and they also have bald legs. So bald eagles don't have bald heads. Many of you may know this, but bald in Middle English meant, in Old English, meant white. So B-A-L-D-E meant white-headed eagle, bald-headed eagle. Now we change the meaning to bald to meaning something else, and now it doesn't make much sense. But what you will remember is that bald eagles have bald legs. Bald legs. Bald legs because they're regularly dipping in the water. That creates less drag, and more importantly, in the wintertime, the water's not going to build up on those feathers and ice up. So bald eagles, because they're mainly eating on fish, yes, they eat a variety of things, but their primary diet is fish, and so they need those bald legs. Whereas the golden eagle, not feeding on fish, feeding more on mammals such as rabbits, squirrels, things that have sharp teeth, also have sharp claws that could easily hurt you in the process of you trying to kill them. So they have feathers that go all the way down here towards the bottom of the toes. Okay, so the talons are all the way down here, but right up here you can see that's where the feathers go. Those feathers go down the legs. Remember, they are in the booted eagle family. Those boots, those feathers go all the way down. So it's kind of like, well, maybe that's not the best example. Maybe a better example, sorry for that image there. I know that's hard to see. But maybe a better image here is to look here, because there is those feathers going all the way down here towards those massive, massive talons of the golden eagle. Here's a side-by-side here for you to see difference between those bald legs there of the bald eagle there, and then over here to the feathered or the booted of the golden eagle. So now it's time for you to have a quiz, our first quiz. And we're going to have a lot of quiz coming out here, so if you have a chance, you can enter your guesses into the comments here. But this is what you're seeing. They were doing some construction. They were rolling this piece of plywood by when you took your photo. And unfortunately, you can't tell what kind of eagle is. But now I think you will be able to know, because if we look carefully, we can look, yeah, there's some feathers there. But then below that, look at that. It is bald right there. And so I'm hoping that you all guessed bald eagle, because there it is. Here's another one for you. All right. So here we've got an image for you to take a look at. Now, I always want to point out that so far I've talked about the golden nape. I talked about the beak color, the beak size. These are all field marks that I'm encouraging you to use. And anytime we're making an identification of anything in the wild, whether it's a moose or a beluga whale, we want to use more than one field mark to make sure we're confirming our identification. If you see something like this, what are you going to do? It's kind of hard to tell. It does have a little bit of a golden nape there, doesn't it? But it's a little hard to tell. But what I will also point out to you right now is that golden eagles often have gold right here along the leading edge of the wing. Okay, so each side, right along this leading edge of the wing, when it's folded, you'll see that little gold line right there. We'll all see it later when it's in flight as well. So my guess is, based on what I'm seeing, is this is a golden eagle. But let's see if we can see some more field marks. We see some more field marks. Then we can definitely see, look at those, feathered legs, feathered legs. Okay, what about this one, guys? What do you see in here? Give you a second here and take a look there. What do you guys think we're looking at? Notice the water behind it. So that's one thing. It's not a field mark, but it is something that we would take note of. Like, okay, where is this bird? What's the habitat? What's the location? Looks like it's near water. Not saying that a golden eagle couldn't be near water. So we're maybe have to take another look. We take another look. Then we can see, oh, look at that big old beak. Big old beak that is very dark throughout the entire length as well. It's not tricolored like that golden eagle should be. Remember, the golden eagle should be dark the tip, then bluish gray, and then yellow. This one is all dark. Now that's great, right? If we get this close of a view of an eagle, we can probably make an identification when they're really that close. But how often are they really like right in front of our nose? How often does that happen? Very infrequently. In fact, this is probably more likely what you're encountering in the actual real life bird watching out there in the real world is images like that are like, yeah, I think I see a bird. No? Is it a plane? No, it's a bird. It's a bird. Yep, it's a bird. I can see its feathers now. But how can you make an identification at that distance, or even at a distance like this? But even if we have cameras and binoculars, we can usually zoom in to hopefully get us a better idea of what we are seeing out there. So what are we going to do when we zoom in and look? What are we going to be looking for? One of the things we're going to be looking for is where the white is. Where the white is. Now, over here, we do have the adult golden eagles over here. They are primarily all dark brown underneath. There's some mottling there with a lighter edge there towards the outer edge of the feathers, and a little bit darker here towards the body right here, right? Okay, so there is definitely that going on. But the juvenile birds, they are very diagnostic. and having these white patches in the outer parts of the wing. They also have tails then that are half white and half black as well. So half white, half black tails, and then patches of white in the outer parts of the wing out near the wrist. Okay, let's compare that with the bald eagle that may also have white underneath the wing as well, but it's going to be located in a different area. So we can see here, we have these three up here are all juvenile bald eagles, and these three down here are golden eagles. We have the adult over here on this side, but then here we have two juveniles right here. Notice where the white is on these birds compared with the white here on the golden eagles right here. Yes, they have white in the outer part of the wing, but more importantly, that white is right here where the wing meets the body. Okay, that is the axillaries. Okay, that is the axillary. So if you ever had an axillary temperature, okay, that's right there. That is where the wing meets the body or our arm meets the body. And so axillaries are white on the bald eagles that are juveniles. The golden is brown feathers there. The whites is going to be outer part of the wing. So let's take a look at a real life example here of that. So here is a, buddy, all right, this is a, very good, yep. So the white right there, that white there where the wing meets the body, that means that is a juvenile bald eagle, juvenile bald eagle. Now we've got another bird here. Here we've got a bird with the white, definitely half white, half black tail. But I will warn you that young bald eagles sometimes have tails that are somewhat similar to that. There's some ways that we can make identifications on that later, but we'll talk about that later. So we got another field mark. What are we looking? We've got some white here, and where is it? Is it near the axillaries here? No, no, it's way out here near the wrist. And so we're looking at a golden eagle. Very good. How about this one? Quick. Somebody got this one? Yeah, lots of white there in the axillaries. Juvenile bald eagle. Here's another one. Now this one does have a fair amount of white that kind of does sneak up into the axillaries here a little bit. But the predominant amount of patches of white is in the outer part. So remember, always use more than one field mark. And there are some things that we will look at relating to the tail later. But another field mark that you could use right now that we've talked about already, one is the golden nape. There's that golden nape right there. You can see that. And there is that beak that's really pretty small. If you have to look to see if it has a beak, and I have to kind of look, yeah, I think there's a beak there, you're probably looking at a golden eagle. A juvenile bald eagle at the same angle, same photograph distance away, you'd be like, there's a beak on there. There's a chenasse. That's Jimmy Durante out there. You'll be able to see that. So if you have to strain to see if there's a beak there, you're probably looking at a golden eagle. So that'd be another field mark I'd use in this. So a juvenile golden eagle right here. Here is the adult. So there's a little bit more challenging with that. Sometimes they almost will give you a turkey vulture feel with that dark leading part and that kind of that lighter trailing here. Remember, we don't have turkey vultures that live in this area during the winter months when the golden eagles are here. So a distant bird that feels a little bit like a turkey vulture, that coloration, you might want to think about golden eagle, but you also might want to think about a rough-legged hawk as well. There's an adult right here. There's that golden nape right there on the top. We'll tickle it right there. All right, and so let's do another bird here. This is a bird that has a lot of white in tail and black in the tail, but there's really not many white spots. And so there is variation. Sometimes you will have golden eagles that have very little white in the wing, and sometimes you'll have birds that have a lot. So it does vary a little bit. Here's one that has a very unique patch on one side, but very different on the other side. And so we're going to talk a little bit later how we're going to use those patterns underneath the wings to make sure that when we see birds on survey day later in the day, whether we saw the same birds or not. We're going to take a quick shot of this. If it's not a great photo, we'll still be able to zoom in and say, oh yeah, it's a juvenile bird, but those patterns don't match up. That means we've seen two different juvenile birds so far today. Sometimes those white patches will appear on the upper surface here of the wing as well, but you'll always see that white and black on the upper part of the tail. All right, so how are we going to remember this, folks? How are we going to remember that you're going to be looking for the white in the axillaries? Okay, because this is the juvenile bald eagle right here with those white axillaries right there. Okay, how are you going to remember that? Well, think about it this way. The bald eagle, it's our nation symbol, and it has a lot to represent, and it has a lot of duties. And so while it's out there doing its duties, it probably should remember to put a little bit of deodorant on. You know, it's that white cakey deodorant, you know, that kind of works its way out into the sleeve over time. Yeah, that's the way you're going to remember this, folks. Is the bald eagle has the white cakey deodorant, and I know there's some of you like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you just said that, but that's how you're going to remember this, folks. So the bald eagles, they wear the deodorant. Now the golden eagles, you know, they're found across the northern hemisphere, so they like to be out and about too, and they like to be, you know, seen and known. And so they like to put a little bit of that cologne on the, just on the wrist, just a little dab out near the wrist. And so if there's a little dab out near the wrist, you're probably looking at a golden eagle. But if it's that bald eagle with those white armpits there, as we see right there, we're looking at a bald eagle right there. All right, let's go for a test here, folks. Time to test you a little bit. You've gotten a lot of skills here so far. I hope you're all doing well. Let's see if we can identify these two birds. All right, so right here we have A. And so what are we seeing here? Type in your answers there for you. I'll give you a second to do that. I'm getting the thumbs up here. By the way, I want to take the time to thank Jared Lewick, who is our Avon Care Assistant Manager, but he's also our tech guru here, and he's helped put all of this together, so I really appreciate all his help on that. And then Tiffany is also helping with these programs as well. Tiffany's our Avon Care Manager, and so she's helping, and she's the one that's looking at the answers here right now. And she's telling me that some of you are indeed answering that A here is a juvenile bald eagle. Yes, because you notice the white in the axillaries, white in the wing pits. And so B then over here, here's B. B right over here, we then have a bird that has little cologne in the outer part of the wrist. We are looking at a golden eagle. So good job, you got those right. All right, what do we got there? All right, that was quick enough. Hopefully you didn't have your eyes closed for that one. Remember, folks, sometimes you get just fleeting glimpses. So what did you think you saw in that image that I just put up there real quickly? Anybody get a guess on that? Anybody? All right. Hopefully you were able to see the white patches in the outer part of the wing, and we've got a little bit of a golden nape there as well. Just a little bit of golden nape. Almost looks a little bit whitish there based on the lighting right there. So that is a juvenile golden eagle. All right, what do we got here? We've got a bird with a lot of gold coloration there on the back, but is it really up here on the nape? No, I don't see really on the nape, but what I do see right there is a very large, all dark beak. And if we move down here, look at right here, we've got some bald legs as well. So we've got a bald eagle here, juvenile bald eagle. Here, what do we got here? We've got a bird with a lot of white right near the axillaries. Yep, and so we're looking at a juvenile bald eagle. All right, what do we got here? Bald eagle. I'm hoping you all got that right. I must say that if you didn't get this one right, even myself and Benjamin Franklin are going to be just a little upset that you got that wrong. But I think you got that right. I put that up there because I want you to see the difference in the shapes of the head profiles. Bald eagles have a lot of head sticking out in front of them and a lot of tail sticking out behind. So once again, you have a lot of head sticking out in the front and a lot of tail sticking out behind. A lot of head in the front and a lot of tail out behind, which is very different than a golden eagle that has a lot of tail sticking out back here, but very little head projection. Very little head projection for the golden eagles. Here's another example. There's a bald eagle with a lot of head in the front and a lot of tail out in the back. Here's one for you. What do we got here? Very little head projection. Remember, if you've got to look to see if it has a beak or even a head, you're probably looking at a golden eagle. Remember, if it's got a big old Jimmy Durante schnoz here, you're going to see that from a distance. All right, how are you going to remember that? That a bald eagle has a large projecting head? Well, the bald eagle, being our nation symbol, does have a lot to worry about. And so it probably should have a big head. So bald eagles have big heads. Hopefully you remember that. Let's take a look at this one. What do we got here, guys? Yeah, let's take a closer look here. Okay, yep, so we've got some unique white patches there underneath the wing, but they are out near the wrist, aren't they? They're out near the wrist, and there's that half white and half a black tail. There's no white here near the axillaries, and we have a short head projection. I can just see a little bit of a golden nape there. So yeah, good job for guessing golden eagle, juvenile golden eagle right there. All right, here's another one for you. I'm going to give you a second here while I grab a sip of water. You put your answers in for A and B. A and B. All right, everybody. Thank you for typing in. Tiffany's letting me know that I've got a couple of good answers, and we've got some correct answers, which is great. Good job, guys. So up on the top here, we have A. We have a lot of white in those axillaries, a lot of that deodorant right there. We're looking at the juvenile bald eagle down there, up here. Now down here, we're looking at B, and we have a golden eagle. Very good. We have a golden eagle. So a bald eagle up on the top and a golden eagle there on the bottom. How about here? Very nice, classic, beautiful, bold patterns in those outer part of the wing. Nothing near the axillaries, but there's that tail that's half white and half black as well. And there on this side here, we've got that short head projection there as well. All right, what do we got here? Here we've got an adult golden eagle, an older bird here. Once again, very short head projection right there, barely sticking out, but a lot of tail sticking out that back. Okay, what do we got here? Quick, that's another quick one there. That was a quick one, folks. Any guesses out there? Anybody have a guess? All right, let's take another look at that bird and see what we got. Oh, yeah. Okay, so from a distance, I'm hoping that what you saw when I did this, back to that, is that there's a big beak sticking out there. That's a big head sticking out. There really is a beak there. I can see that beak from a long ways away. My second field mark I need to use more than one field mark. I'm going to look at those wings there, and I'm going to look underneath there where the wings meet the body there, and there is white there in the axillaries. And so this is a juvenile bald eagle. A different bird, yeah, a turkey vulture. Good job, everybody, for knowing a turkey vulture. Why did I throw a turkey vulture in there? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, I said that color variation between the dark and the light can sometimes give you that feel of an adult golden eagle in the distance there when they're soaring. You can sometimes see that. But more importantly, the reason I threw it out there for you today to see is when a turkey vulture soars, they have that classic uplifted wings. We call that a dihedral. Okay, that's a dihedral. The bald eagles, they have a flat profile, so flat as a board. Okay, flat as a board profile. The golden eagles don't have a pronounced dihedral, they have a slight dihedral. So once again, bald eagles are flat, turkey vultures up here, golden eagles kind of in between, So let's see a couple of images here besides my wingspan. Let's take a look at these wingspans right here. There's that flat profile there of the bald eagle. I'll compare that with the golden eagle there. There's that slight dihedral right there, just that slight dihedral there. Here's a couple of golden eagles flying together. Both of those exhibiting slight dihedrals, each of those poses. Now, I got to warn you that this is all based on how the bird is flying and what they're doing. A golden eagle that's in a dive may have its wings tucked back or may have them flat for a little bit as they adjust. So consistently uplifted wings over a period of time, then we're probably looking at a golden eagle. Yeah, flat consistently, then we'd be looking at a bald eagle. All right, let's take another couple here. Here's a couple of another golden eagles. Soaring together. I often see the adult golden eagles during the winter months hanging together, hunting together, and even perching together. And so that is two golden eagles there with those slight dihedrals. What do we got here? Looks like a very strong dihedral, doesn't it? But remember, this bird is flapping when this photo was taken. So those wings were caught in that uplifted. So it makes it look like it has a dihedral, when in fact it's just a juvenile bald eagle because we can see there's the white in the axillaries. So use more than one field mark. Mentioned earlier a little bit that golden leading edge there on the leading edge of the wing that the golden eagles have. I also point this out here to show you that they may also have those wings that are, and I can't really do it as well as they're doing it, but they have a little bit of a slight uplift there in the wings as well, a slight profile that bald eagles rarely have. All right, how about this one right here? This is a good one for you here to try to identify. Lots and lots of gold coloration there on this bird, isn't there? But if we look, the gold coloration is really here on the back mostly. But do we have much up here by the nape? No. But what we do have is a very large beak, don't we? Very large beak, and what is it? It's all dark. It's not tricolored the way a golden eagle's is. Dark at the tip, then bluish gray, and then yellow. It's all dark. And if we look down here towards the feet, what do we see? The lower parts of the leg are bald. So we have a bald eagle. Well, this is actually originally called the Washington sea eagle. This is the painting by John James Audubon. When he saw this bird down in the lower reach of the Mississippi River, he shot the bird because that's how they painted, took him home and painted him. Brought this bird home and said, I think this is a new species to science. I'm going to name it in honor of our first president. I'm going to name this the Washington sea eagle. Well, he was correct. It is a sea eagle. It does have the bald legs. It does have the big old beak. But this is what we know as, and you know, if you got it right, I'm sure you did, this is a juvenile bald eagle. So even the guy who made the books made some mistakes. So you can make mistakes as well. Well, I think it's time for a little virtual treat for you, folks. You've done so really well that I think it's time for a little snack. And so just so you know, the black ones there, those are like black licorice flavor there, and the yellow ones are cloves. But go ahead and grab one there, folks. Take a little break there as we move on. You're doing really great. All right, let's take a look at another image here. We've got a bird with a lot of white here in the axillaries. I also want you to take a look here closely as our little friend is doing there. Look at the edge of the tail here. See the outer tail feather right here? That is bordered by black. On a golden eagle that has a tail that's maybe somewhat similar, that outer feather right there where my fingers are pointing will be a lightish gray to a white color, but not bordered by black as it always is in the juvenile bald eagles. And we'll talk more about that later, but the one field mark we would definitely use is the white in the axillaries and a big old beak, and kind of straight wings there as well. Here we've got another bird here. Let's take a look here. We've got some very unique patches in the outer part of the wings. That's that European dabbling that little bit of cologne there in the outer part near the wrist. So we've got a golden eagle here, and there's that half white, half black tail. And then look right there. There's that border I was talking about. See how it's white all the way to the edge, not bordered by black the way it is for the bald eagle. All right, so what do we got next? All right, so we've got a golden nape, right? We've got a short head profile. It's a big head, but it's a short profile. And then we've got some feathered, furred lip. No, it's a bison. You know it's a bison, right? Use more than one field mark, Scott. Yes, this is a mammal. All right, so how about you? What do you got for this one? Here we've got a bird with a little bit of gold along the leading edge. Remember we looked at that bird a long time ago? That gold along the leading edge and a very short head projection, right? But a lot of tail sticking out behind. We are looking at a golden eagle. This is an adult golden eagle. Compare that with those juvenile golden eagles that have those white patches out in the wing like we described earlier, and those tails half white and black. All right, what do we have here, folks? Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. We're looking down on the bird, essentially. So we're looking at the back, so we really can't look for white underneath the axillaries on this particular bird. So what are we going to use? Well, you know what? A bird at this distance, if we can see a beak like that, we're probably more than likely looking at a Jimmy Durante bird. That's the bald eagle. Yeah, yep. So this is a juvenile bald eagle. All right, what do we got here? Take a look at this one, folks. This is a challenge for you here. Make sure you make the correct identification on this one. All right, so everybody's zeroing in. You're writing your answers in. We're getting some answers back there. All right, good, good. Looks like most are saying bald eagle. Is that right? Most are saying bald eagles? Yes? Good job, everybody. Yes, there's some gold brown there, isn't there? But it's right here. It's not up here on the nape like it should be. Then look at that beak. Look at that beak. It's very dark and it's very big. Okay? And it looks like there's a fairly big head sticking out there too. But more importantly, let's look down the legs here. Look at right there. Those lower legs are bald. Lower legs are bald. And then we go back up. There's that white there in the axillaries. So we know this is a juvenile bald eagle. But as I said, everybody makes mistakes. This is the sign and the description underneath that picture at Theodore Roosevelt National Park. Don't forget to look up. Golden eagles glide high on thermal air currents. So remember, everybody makes mistakes, but I'm hoping by the end of this presentation, and we're getting near the end of it, I'm hoping that you will feel better about making the correct identification. All right, another quick one. Was that a little too quick there for you? Need a little bit closer look there for you. All right, let's take a quick look. Sometimes, though, you're going to get fleeting glimpses on count survey day. Now, if you get a good look at it, great. But if that was the only look that you got at that bird, what you're going to say is you're going to say, I don't know what it was. I know it was a raptor. It might have been an eagle, but I don't know for sure. I don't want us on the survey day to just say, well, I think it was a bald eagle. I would rather us say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know. Always remember that. But if you had to guess, and we're just doing that for fun here, what do you think that was based on that projection there? Very small head projection, right? And a lot of tail. This is definitely a golden eagle. Here we've got another one for you here. Look at the beautiful feathered legs all the way down here. And look at that beautiful golden nape up there. And then even right here, notice those golden leading edge there along that thing as well. All right, so we've got a golden eagle there. How about here? Got the back side of this bird as it's about ready to take off. We can notice that it has some white here in the axillaries. We can notice here we've got a big old dark beak that's all dark. And then down here, look at that. Right there, we've got bald legs. And so this is a juvenile bald eagle. What do we got here? This is a little tricky. It does have some gold brown up on the top of here, doesn't it? But it's really not so much on the nape. Remember we talked earlier that juvenile bald eagles may have some brownish markings on the top of the head, but not all the way down the back of the head. So let's use more than one field mark. Well, if we look at that beak does look big at this angle, and it almost looks like there's a little bit of ridge of color in there. But what I got to tell you, folks, is that what's going on in this particular image is that the sunlight is beating down on that beak that's made out of keratin, and that lighterness is coming out of that through the sunlight. So this bird, if you've been to the National Eagle Center before, watched our videos online, you probably have seen this bird. This is kind of his baby photo. Here is what he looks like as an adult here. Here is Washaka. This is Washaka, folks. Yes, this is Washaka. There is his younger picture. There is his adult picture right there. All right, let's do another one here. All right, so right here we have this beautiful big old bus. We've got this beautiful flag right there. And then right there leading the flag is a eagle. And this is a what? Bald eagle. I think you all know that. Well, remember, everybody makes mistakes. The person who put this up kind of made a mistake, because looking closely here, look at the name of the company. Golden Eagle Charters. Golden Eagle Charters. That, folks, right there is, as you know, a bald eagle. Everybody makes mistakes. Folks, I want to thank you so much for being so patient so far with me. We've got a few more things to go over here, but I really do appreciate you taking the time, to spend your time with us today and sitting so patiently. I appreciate. I know there's probably getting some yawns out there. I know how I can go on and on, so I get that. I know there's probably been some snoozing there in the back there every once in a while. I get that as well. But what I want to say is that I've got a little technical thing working on here. We're going to get that fixed here. But what I want to say is that many of you have been sitting there wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and definitely enjoying everything, even giving me some toothy grins along the way. But I think I even saw some thumbs up. Did I not get some thumbs up back there, Tiffany? Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for those thumbs up back there. And thanks for bearing with me here. And I hope I haven't been not too much of a bore today. But I know you have had so many other things to do today, but you chose to do this. So thank you for that. Yeah, I think after all those puns, I'm getting that look right there. I get that. Even some of you are probably getting a little owly. So I will definitely move on. But I hope that so far I have been a beacon of knowledge for you today. Ooh, time for a commercial, folks. What I want to share with you right now is that if you have friends that would like to learn more about seeing golden eagles, and maybe they don't want to take part in the survey, encourage them to come to the National Eagle Center to learn more about golden eagles, but more importantly, take one of our field trips where we take you out into the golden eagle habitat to show you golden eagles out in the landscape. And so definitely take part in one of those opportunities to do that. We'd love to have you on board. All right, as it relates to the survey here, it's time to talk about the survey. People often ask me, how much time do I need to give to the survey? Ideally, 4 hours. Most surveyors spend about 4 to 6 hours out on survey day. That's the average amount of time that people spend out on survey day. Now, when you're out there on survey day, encourage more people to come along. Even if they've not taken part in the survey itself here, training session itself, still invite them people along, because the more eyes, the better that can be looking for these more secretive and elusive birds, the better. And so definitely give that an opportunity. Now, when you're out there, what I'll encourage you to do is to pull safely off the side of the road and turn your flashers on, and then go off on the other side of the car, in the front of the car, so that in case cars come along and we're accidentally hit your vehicle, you will be off the side. So please make sure that you take the time to do that. Now, you're going to be given a survey area for you to get out and take part on the survey day. And it's going to look something like this. Now, when you get this, this is not a type of survey where you have to cover every square inch of area within that area. Some will be square like this, some will be more circles. You just need to cover the areas where golden eagles have been seen in the past. I may send you locations where golden eagles have been seen before, or you may go to eBird and find out where locations in your area golden eagles have been seen before. And so it's an opportunity for you to learn more about where these birds have been seen before, because these birds are creatures of habit. They regularly go back to the same locations over and over again. And so where people have seen them before, go back to those locations. I've been watching some birds in the same valleys for over 25 years now, and they've been using the same valleys year after year. In fact, they often use the same tree year after year. So the key is to go to those locations where observers have seen them before. And if at first you don't see them perched up on the hillside, come back, drive that area again, and maybe when you see them in flight, continue to watch them as they're in flight the whole time, because where they're going to land is probably a very reliable perching location for them to go to. And so definitely take the time to watch those flying birds as long as you can to see where they regularly are maybe landing and perching, because then our ultimate goal as surveyors will do the survey year after year, and you know those locations really well if you've seen the birds perching in those trees. That's the important part, and that's why we really appreciate all of our surveyors. In fact, we have over a 90% retention rate of surveyors year after year on the survey. Now, as I mentioned before, if you go to an area that you didn't see golden eagles in the first time, and there's time, definitely come on back. You remember Jen there. I'll circle back on that. Circle back and check on those areas again. But let's go back to this slide here for a second. So as we look at this slide here, and we look at the map here, notice all of the green areas. That's forested areas, and the topography lines are pretty steep. Those are really good valleys. That's areas where I'm going to spend time. If I have a lot of white areas, flat areas, as I do here on this particular area, I'm not going to spend much time in these areas. I may use these as main arteries to drive from one location to the other, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time in those areas. I may be driving at 45 miles per hour through those areas. When I get into the likely habitat for the golden eagles, that's when I'm going to slow down to 35 miles per hour. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do is to put a sign in the back of your vehicle in your window that we will provide for you via the website. It just basically says what you're doing. You are a golden eagle surveyor and that you are doing this project. That also allows people that might be thinking about, who are those people staring into the woods by us? If they see that on the back of your window there, or if they approach you, you can show that them, and there also will be the email that they can email me if they have concerns about people out looking in their woods. All right, so let's talk about, we talked earlier about where, if you're going to go back and where you're going to circle back, where you're going to look. This is that money shot there. That's the money line there. That's the area that we're going to be looking for the golden eagles if we're in the bluff country in the Driftless area. And that's where we have the most experience in identifying and seeing these birds. But why many of you are here today is because we're really expanding that survey into other areas across the eastern United States. And so it's not all Driftless area. But what we can say is that the golden eagles really do prefer the forested areas. They prefer forested areas with open areas in between. And so as we explore these new areas, the forested areas with open areas like this, I think are the areas to concentrate where the golden eagles are going to be hanging out. Because it makes sense. That's where the prey is going to be. That's where the rabbits, that's where the squirrels and the wild turkeys might be. And so they can kind of fly behind the trees and come out into these openings and hopefully catch their prey out in the open. So spend your time in those locations. If you're not in the Driftless area, spend in times where there's openings in the forest. That's where we tend to see them. And as I mentioned before, folks, if you don't know, you don't know. You don't know. It's okay to say don't know. In fact, we typically average over 75 unknowns on each year's survey. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because it says that I didn't really get a good enough look. And for us to really contribute to the science, we want to make sure that we're submitting accurate data. And so it's okay to say I don't know. That does mean something. If you don't see any golden eagles on survey day, that means something too. It doesn't mean that you didn't help us. That means we didn't learn anything from that. We did. So all data is very important. Now, one of the things that we're hoping to do this year, we're going to kind of do a soft little takeoff here, so to speak, with this. And then next year, we're going to be switching over completely to utilizing this. This is the Peregrine app. It's called the GRIN app, G-R-I-N, Global Raptor Impact Network. And it's an app that you can put on your phone, and it'll allow you to do a survey like this that we do. And the important part of being able to enter the data into here is the National Eagle Center then gets to use that data. But more importantly, we get to share it with researchers across the world, literally, because we all are involved in that same amount of research. And so it's a great way for us to be able to easily share and gain the knowledge that we are really trying to do. That's why we're doing these surveys. This year, not everybody needs to do this, but I will be sending out an email talking a little bit about this. And the gentleman from the Peregrine Fund will be doing a little tutorial for those that want to learn how to do that. So I'll send an email, and when that tutorial will take place, if you want to try using the Peregrine app, the Grin app. Okay, but for sure, what you're going to do is when you're done with the survey, I'll be sending out an email with all the information sheets that you need and all the data sheets that you need. But what you'll get at the end is an opportunity then to go to our website, nationaleaglecenter.org, right up there it is, nationaleaglecenter.org, and then you go to our Learn tab here, and then scroll down here until you find Golden Eagles. Once you click on the Golden Eagle tab, it'll give you an opportunity where you're going to be able to enter your data right online. So it's a very easy way to do that. All right, let's talk about a couple more things here as we wrap up here today. A couple of things to point out, some things that I want you to look for. This is the attention getter. For me, the juvenile Golden Eagles are just beautiful. They are handsome, beautiful, wonderful looking, and they're the ones that attract a lot of attention from me, but they also attract attention from the adult eagles. So I regularly see, as I mentioned earlier, adult golden eagles hanging out together throughout the winter, perching together, hunting together, and also checking their territory and keeping others out of the territory. So when the adult birds see a juvenile bird flying in their territory, that's competition for their food in their territory. And so what I see the golden eagles doing is taking off from those trees and heading out here to chase after the golden eagles here. So here we've got an adult here that's taking off after this juvenile bird right here. There's that white in the outer part of the wing. Even notice the little golden nape there, folks, as well. And that beak, it's just that little blue-gray patch that often shines in the sun just right. So that adult bird is going after this bird, saying, you need to get out of my space. So watch for that. When you see a bird in the sky and you see a juvenile bird in your area, watch that bird for as long as you can. Even if it's like a half an hour of time that you're driving, just kind of watching this bird, it's really important time spent. Because if that bird happens to cross into those adult birds' territories, those adult birds that may have been invisible to you up on the bluffs now come out in the air, now become visible and easy to see. And now you may have added another bird or two to your survey area because you took the time to watch. But you'll also see other interactions with other birds. Here we've got a golden eagle and a bald eagle here interacting. Now we have a juvenile bald eagle. There's the white in the wing pits. And a juvenile golden eagle. There's the white in the outer part there. You might also see interactions with other raptors as well. So here we've got a golden eagle and a red-tailed hawk. Look at that difference there in size between those. I know a little bit with the angle, but more importantly, kind of gives you a depth of how big those birds really are. And you might even see, adult bald eagles interacting with juveniles. A lot of people know about the courtship ritual called the cartwheeling display, where the male and the female will do a cartwheeling display, lock talons, and do that near the nesting site. But any other time of the year, you may see adults doing this or juveniles and adults doing this. This is just all their territorial disputes, saying you're in my space, you need to get out of this area. All right. Other thing that I want to make sure that we notice is where is the white underneath the wings? Where is the white at underneath the wings? As we learned earlier, it's out near the wrist more on the juvenile golden eagles. Excuse me, got to take a drink there. Now, what I want you to see, though, is all the different patterns. These are all different golden eagles here, folks. Let me move so you can see that. All different golden eagles, and all those patterns are very different. So if you just take a quick picture, even with a cell phone, you take a quick picture of that bird, you can then zoom in on that later when you see another golden eagle, and it's also juvenile. You can see whether the patterns match up or not, and whether you've seen one or two golden eagles. Let's do a little quiz here. It's time for another quiz. What do we got here? So A, type in your answers here. A, we have right over here. What do we have? We have some white in the outer part of the wing. So we have a golden eagle. Very good. Good job. B here. Looks like we're getting some answers in there. Getting a few answers back there. Okay, looks like most of them are answering right. Good. All right, so we've got a bald eagle. Yeah, because look, there is the white in the axillaries. There's the white in the axillaries. And then down here in C, very unique patches in the outer part of the wing. We are looking at a juvenile golden eagle. All right, watch for the pinch. Watch for the pinch. Where the wings meet the body is what I'm talking about right there, is what I want you to look for. Where the wings meet the body. And so right here, you can see that kind of curves in right there. There's a curve in where the wings meet the body. Compare that with this bird here. Here's another one where those wings are curving in right here where the wing meets the body. Right where the tail and the wings kind of come together. It's a little bit of a pinched in area there on the golden eagles. But on the bald eagles, that same area doesn't have as much of a pinch. It's more of a straight edge there. I'm going to go back here one for you. There's that pinch in here, right there. And there we go back to the adult. And there is the more straight along that edge, not a pinch. Here we then have a bird that has some white in the tail, but not much out in the wing. But what else do we see? We have a short head projection. We see a golden nape, and we see a wings pinching in there at the body. So multiple field marks lead me to this is a golden eagle. How about here? Look at those wings. Not much of a pinch in there. Here's some more pinch here on that juvenile golden eagle. Here's a bald eagle. There we go. There we go. All right. And here we've got another golden eagle. Now this one, wow, pretty straight there, isn't it? Yeah, pretty straight there. There's not much of a pinch right there. So remember, there's always going to be some variation out there. That's why you always use more than one field mark. And so we have a very small beak. Yep, there's a beak there. And a little bit of a golden nape. And so we have a golden eagle there. All right, once again, small head projection and wings pinching in. A lot of tail sticking out behind there. We've got a golden eagle there. How about here? Lots of white and a fairly straight there. It does come in a little bit though, doesn't it? Yeah. Now I look at that. That is coming a little bit. So once again, using one more field mark. And then also look at that tail, that outer tail feather we talked about earlier. That is bordered by black. On a golden eagle, that would be more of an edgy gray-white. Okay. Got a few more here for you folks. We've got another golden eagle here. Look at that golden nape. Wings don't pinch in a lot, but look at that golden nape and short head projection. All right. When bald eagles are soaring or banking in the sky, they often have this very straight as a board leading edge to the wing. Straight as a board's leading edge of the wing. Okay. Here's another example of a bald eagle with a fairly straight leading edge here. Compare that with the golden eagle. It's got some curvature there. There's a little bit of bumps in here. There's a little bit of a bump out, and then a bump there, and a bump back here. So a little bit different than that bald eagle that has that very straight profile there, as we can see here in this particular image. Very long, straight board-like leading edge there for the bald eagle. And there again, there's that axillaries that are white. And then down here, what do we got? That black edge, that outer tail feather there. And you can see that on both that tail feathers there. All right, what do we got here? We have two birds. We have a nice straight leading edge there on that juvenile bald eagle that's got the white axillaries as well. Nice straight leading edge. And then over here, we've got more curvature happening there. A little bit of a bulges there. I like to think about, think about me back when I was in college and those bulging muscles that I once had. You remember those pictures? You've probably seen them. So it's kind of like bulging muscles there for the golden eagles. The bald eagle is kind of straight the way I am right now today. All right. So here we've got a golden eagle. Nice golden nape there. Almost that white hitting it almost makes it appear almost like a bald eagle. Here we've got a, what do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Got some answers coming in. Very good. Yep, we got white in the axillaries. Doesn't have much of a head projection, does it? But it's the way the bird's looking down at us. But look at that dark on the outer edge of that tail feather. All right, golden eagle right there. Nice wings pinching in really nice right there. Notice that pinch right there. And that very small beak as well. All right, let's talk about the gold leading edge. We talked about that on the perch birds a little bit earlier, and there it is again. Remember that gold leading edge along those leading edge there, quite prominent there on the birds when they're in flight, and even from quite some distance. That'll be one area of color that it'll often pick up even on cloudy days. So here we've got another golden eagle. There's that gold leading edge there. And let's talk about the tails. The tails of adults look like this, with modeling like this in the tails. Typically, the females have more wider bands of this lighter tannish white color, and the males are much skinnier bands, but that's something that can vary quite a bit and can also be very hard to see. So I don't focus so much on that, but I wanted to make sure that you saw this is what the adult's tails looks like. Compare that with the juveniles that have those tails that are half white and half black as we have here. But notice here, look at that edge. Yeah, there's a little bit of black, but it's very thin compared to what we were seeing on those previous images of bald eagles. Here's another one, juvenile golden eagle, half black, half white tail, and then look right there. Look at that edge there. Very light coloration on that edge. Not that heavy black border that those juvenile bald eagles have. All right, here's a unique image here taken of three birds taken off here at the same time, all juvenile bald eagles. Notice the white and all the axillaries. Different variations in plumage, as we talked about, quite a different variation in plumage. But more importantly, notice where that white is on that outer edge of the tail. It's black. It's black on all three of those birds there. You can see the differences there. All right, a couple more for you. I promise we're near the end here, folks. You've been good sports. I appreciate that. Here's a bird, as we look at here. It's got a lot of white, even in the axillaries, but use more than one field mark. Most of the white's out here, and it's got a short head projection, golden nape, and that tail half white, half black. And also, by the way, the wings pinch in there as well. Here is a bird that, oh, do those wings pinch in a little bit, don't they? But the leading edge seems pretty straight. There's a little bit of it is kind of a short head projection. A little bit of everything going on there, but okay, use multiple field marks, Scott. Don't forget about multiple ones. Oh yeah, it does have white here in the axillaries, doesn't it? And that outer white tail feather is bordered by black. And look at the legs right there, are bald. The legs are bald as well. All right, here we've got those two birds side by side there, so you can see the differences where that black border is here on the bald eagle versus the golden eagle right up here. All right, another image of a golden eagle for you with that nice white. Here's a bald eagle with that white kind of bordered by black, as we see here. All right, so on survey day, this is probably what you're going to see, right? And so on survey day, there's going to be some clouds in the way at times, but you're going to still make identification because even though this is all you saw, you definitely saw that tail border edge right there, and it's a dark black. That means you're looking at a juvenile bald eagle because now we can confirm it with multiple field marks by those axillaries as well. All right, let's take a look at identifying golden eagles during their first winter of life. This is not necessarily important for you to note for the survey data itself, but if you do see this, and I encourage you to write the notes down and tell me what you observed on this, because it does tell us a little bit about the difference between the first year bird and the second year of life. And over time, we can kind of see how that may affect populations. So what we're going to look at here, this is a first year golden eagle. Okay, notice on the back of this bird, right here, the back is all this nice dark brown all the way through. And there's that tail right there, bordered by just a thin edge of white, not black, like on a bald eagle, but overall a dark brown. The juvenile golden eagles in their first couple of years of life, they're all dark brown back, like in the first year of life, excuse me, take that back. In their first year of life, they're all dark brown. Once they get into that second year of their life, then they get more mottling on their back. So you can use that to identify whether this bird is a first year or a second year. They'll still have the white in the wing, and they'll still have white and black in the tail. The only difference is going to be the brown, all brown back of the first year bird, and then the more mottled back of the second year bird. Let's take an example here. So here is a bird here. This bird right here is the first year bird. That brown is all through the back. It's all through the back. Where on this older bird here, you can see there's this mottling here on the wings. It's not a nice clean brown as it is here on the first year bird. So first year birds, first winter birds have all dark brown backs with no mottlings. Birds that are 2 years of age or older, getting that second year of age, have that mottling. So here's that mottling right here on a bird taken off here. Right there on that golden eagle, there's that mottling we're talking about. And then here is that all brown back of that first year bird. And there's that tail we talked about. This then is another golden eagle. And look at all that mottling on the back there. This is an adult golden eagle. This is an adult golden eagle. In fact, the adult golden eagles tend to be, to me, the most messy looking or the scruffy looking. It's those juveniles that have that all dark brown plumage that are very crisp looking. These guys look a little more mottled or disheveled. Okay, so here we've got two birds sitting side by side, as we said the pairs often do, and look at that mottling there on the back. We've got adult golden eagle sitting right there. Here's a bird. Remember I said that they will still have the white and black tail in that second year of life, but what they will have is a mottling on the back of the wing. The first year bird's going to be all brown right here. First year bird would be all brown right here, but the second year bird would have this. Okay, here's the last look at an adult. All right, with that mottling and that beautiful golden nape. And now we're looking at a cinder block and a vase. Cinder block and a vase. Why are we looking at a cinder block and a vase, Scott? Well, bald eagles have a blocky feel to them. They have a very blocky feel, where golden eagles have more curvature to them when they're sitting there in the trees. So let's see if we can take a look at that a little bit. So there's that blocky shape. They have these broad shoulders here for the, remember they're a nation symbol. They have broad shoulders to carry it all. So they have big broad shoulders right there, whereas the golden eagles, they have more curvature here as the bird is sitting there in the tree. So take a look here at another golden eagle. There's more curvature there on the sides there. Another golden eagle, small head as well. Look at that small beak. It's even hard to see. That's not a Jimmy Durante up there. It's a small beak. But notice that curvature as well. More curvature for the golden eagles. Here's some side by side here for you. I'll step out of the way here so you can see the bird in the middle is the golden eagle. And then the birds flanking it on either side there are bald eagles. And you can see that more cinder block feel the broad shoulders there of the bald eagle compared to the more rounded shoulders of the golden eagle. There's an adult bald eagle. There's those bigger cinder block shoulders there. And here's a golden eagle with the more rounded. Another one, more rounded of the golden eagle. Now, sometimes people find a hard time seeing that. It can be subtle at times. But for me, if I see a bird in the far distance, that because it's so far away, I have no idea how big it is. I think it might be like a red-tailed hawk. Golden eagles have more of a red-tailed hawk shape to them than the bald eagle shape. So if I see a bird in the distance with a shape like that, I might be looking at a red tail, but I might be looking at a golden eagle. So until I get closer, I'm going to make that identification. Here's an example of a blockiness of the bald. There's those bald legs as well. Here's another example of a bald eagle. And how about here in this one? I'm going to give you a second to look at this while I grab a sip of water here. Take a look at A and B. What do we have? I think somebody just typed in that they don't know. Unknown. That's great. I appreciate that. But for this one, we're going to say, in a distance, I would probably say, I don't know on the left one. But because I know the photographer who took this and I know the image, we know that A has the more rounded shoulders, okay? Where B over here, you'll notice the shoulders are square, more square. So we're looking at a bald eagle here with those cinder block shape compared with the golden eagle right up here with the more rounded shape. Yep, so we've got a bald eagle and a golden eagle perched in the same area there. And here we have those two shapely forms there of the golden eagles perched together, as I mentioned, the adults often do. So if you watch, let me go back a second. When you watch a golden eagle sitting in a tree, there again, continue to watch that for as long as you can, because oftentimes the other bird who may have been out hunting will come in and then perch next to the other one. So you have an opportunity to add another bird to your list by just having some patience, taking time to enjoy the day, and observing other things in the fields. All right, there's another look at a blocky bald eagle. A couple of golden eagles hidden in there. You can see that golden nape even from a long ways away, can't you? Yep, but there's that more shape to it. All right, here, what do we got going on here? We got a roller coaster. This is one of the displays that golden eagles may do. Now, typically they do this more in late February into March when I see this display, but you might see it during the winter as well, earlier winter as well. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I saw this display, and I was quite amazed that I saw it so early. But you may see this, and what this display is where a golden eagle will fly quite high into the sky, maybe several hundred to several thousand feet in some cases, high. And what they'll do is they'll stall their body in midair, they'll tuck their wings in, and they'll drop. And they'll drop just like an arrow. And then they'll come back up again and go up and then stall again and come down. And they'll do this up and down over and over again in the sky. And what this is a display flight. It's basically showing other eagles, other golden eagles that are in their area that they can see in the distance, that this is my winter territory. This is my winter territory. This is where I live through the winter. This is where I find my food. I want to make sure I keep other golden eagles out of this area. So I'm going to do this display flight to let you know this is my area. The reason I bring this up to watch this is that means that if you see a bird doing this, that means that golden eagle probably sees another golden eagle somewhere. So yes, watch it for a little bit. It's amazing. You'll never forget watching this. But then look around to see if you can see the other golden eagle that this bird is doing that display flight for. All right, another thing you might see them doing occasionally is, especially juvenile birds, at this time of the year, sometimes we'll see them dropping sticks. As you can see them dropping, it's like maybe a corn stalk or something right there. This one in particular is carrying a stick as well. And so you will see sometimes behavior like that. And make sure you note that when you do that. But that's just a learning behavior that they do. All right, a couple more for you. One thing that I want to point out here is this is a bird that has kind of that dark leading edge and that lighter trailing edge there. And a tail that's got some half white and maybe a little bit of black there. Kind of reminds you a little bit of a golden eagle in a couple different ways. But this is actually a dark morph rough-legged hawk. Dark morph rough-legged hawk. And we've got a video that we're going to share with you a little bit later about how to identify some more of the other raptors that you might see on survey day. All right, so what do we got here? We've got a golden eagle, and here we have a turkey vulture. Okay, so we talked about the turkey vulture earlier about the dihedral and the differences there. But there again, it has that difference with that dark on the front and that lighter trailing edge. So we could compare that with the rough-legged hawk, kind of has a pattern similar to that. The golden eagle has a pattern somewhat similar to that. And the turkey vulture has a pattern somewhat similar to that. Remember, the turkey vulture not here during the survey period. Okay. All right, so let's move on here to this one. And so one of the things that I also want to make sure you take the time to observe is the wild turkey behavior. Wild turkeys are one of the main prey items for these golden eagles that are wintering here. And the wild turkeys know that, and they are regularly watching for golden eagles. When they see golden eagles flying overhead, those wild turkeys will run to the woods, run to cover. So if you see the turkeys that are calmly feeding in the field all of a sudden run to the woods, you want to look up because there's more than likely a golden eagle flying overhead. Only rarely do they ever take off when a bald eagle run to the woods when a bald eagle soars over. But they always run to the woods when a golden eagle does. So make sure you look up to catch that where it's happening. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to see other raptors on the day. Our main purpose of our survey is to talk about identifying and looking for golden eagles and then bald eagles. But we also are out there, so why don't we also count the other things that we're seeing as well, including red-tailed hawks and rough-legged hawks and all other different types of species as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a separate video that we'll send a link out to you that you'll be able to go to YouTube and watch, learning about how to identify some of these other raptors that you might see on count day. But we also really encourage you to write down nature notes, things that you see out there on count day. So for example, you might see some horned larks or flocks of snow buntings. That's kind of fun to be able to tell people about. Tree sparrows or juncos or wintering robins. It's all kind of fun to watch. Even overwintering red-headed woodpeckers in our area are always fun to see. And also count those turkeys. How many turkeys are you seeing? Deer. How many deer are you seeing? What's going on out there? Are you seeing anything else unusual, like in the canid family, like a coyote or a fox or a wolf or bobcat over here? So, folks, I know you've been very patient with me today. I greatly appreciate that you've been very content to sit here this whole time and to be a part of this citizen science survey. So I thank you so much for taking your time to do that with us today. I want to once again thank all the photographers that did the amazing job with providing me with some great images for me to utilize to help you learn these things. Also thanks to ZAAA, the Zoological Association of America. Also thanks to Jared and Tiffany and the National Eagle Center for sponsoring this Wintering Golden Eagle survey. Now, if you have any questions, you can always go to the nationaleaglecenter.org website to learn more about the Golden Eagle Project and the research survey, dates, and all of those things. But more importantly, if you've been through this training session and you're like, and I know you're ready, you're like, yes, I think I can identify those golden eagles in the field. I'm ready to have my own survey route. What you're going to do is you're going to email me, golden at National Eagle Center, golden at nationaleaglecenter.org, and say, Scott, I'm attended the training session. I'll be able to know you attended the training session via our records here. I will then say, okay, I want to know, where do you live? I live near the Twin Cities. Okay, I'm also willing to travel within an hour or two away from the Twin Cities to complete in the survey. So let me know your name, let me know you're ready to do the survey, and where you're from, and how far away from the Twin Cities, or your location, excuse me, where you'd be willing to travel to. But I want to thank you once again, and I hope that you will enjoy the beautiful and magnificent golden eagles that winter here in the lower 48 states, something that we're learning more about because of you, the citizen scientists. Thank you.